The Grade 7 is back. So Patagonia has re-released the Grade 7 belay parka. If you're unfamiliar with what the Grade 7 is, it's basically Patagonia's ultimate belay parka for the coldest objectives, and it's bivy ready. It's stuffed to the brim with down, and it's kind of an iconic piece from Patagonia. I mean, this originally came out with the High Alpine kit, and for a long time, it was, Patagonia's most beloved big puffy belay parka until it got discontinued for the Alploft, and the Alploft replaced this. But lo and behold, a few years with the Alploft, it gets canned, and now the Grade 7 is back. But this isn't the Grade 7 that you know and love. It's slightly different, and obviously it should be because this is the updated version. And so with an update, you've got to tweak some things. But I can tell you, after using this belay parka last season for ice climbing and belaying in some really cold weather, I think for a while there we hit like around negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit for about a week and a half. And let me tell you, I was living in this piece. Like, you had to strip this off of my body just to go climb. There was a few times I just wanted to climb with this piece on because I was just so warm in it and so cozy. And that's just this belay parka makes ice climbing so much better. And it's interesting because I've had to really find the space in my packs to pack this, and I find a way. I never leave the house without this. It's like a staple in my bag now. Like, it used to be the DOS Lite. No. It's the Grade 7. So with that said, as enthusiastic as I am about this jacket, you can kind of see that the updates they made to the jacket aren't the worst. They're just different. Like, on the previous version of the Grade 7, all the baffles were glued, and that was a pretty interesting design. It made sense. Like, if you glue the baffles, you're not puncturing the fabric, so then there's like no air that can go through, and that's like, in theory, a great idea. I think maybe overall either manufacturing cost was a little bit too high to keep doing that, or you kind of run into that problem of what happens when the glue fails. How do you repair that? So I could see how that might have had some problems with the previous version of the Grade 7. So with this version of the Grade 7, it's got sewn-in baffles. It's no more glued baffles, it's sewn-in baffles, which at first I was like, man, but the whole character of the Grade 7 was it's got glued baffles. But then, thinking about it a little bit more, thinking about like the manufacturing and everything, like I just mentioned, it makes sense to go to this. I mean, technically speaking, with this more traditional style sewn baffle, I think that makes this jacket a little bit more repairable. So that's great. If you ever tear a chunk out of your arm, you could at least know that if you send it into Patagonia, there's a greater chance that they're just going to repair it and you'll get your Grade 7 back. So I think that right there is pretty cool, that they've probably made this jacket a little bit easier to repair. And, for longevity purposes, that's great because this is kind of a spendy jacket. I mean, with that price, that this jacket has been tested extensively, and, you always have the ironclad guarantee and that warranty that, they'll fix your piece or replace it. So, but on the flip side to that, it is interesting to see that with this Grade 7, they actually used a different fabric. It's technically a lighter weight fabric, and it has a little bit less denier to it. And to me, when I saw that, I was like, great, that's gonna mean that it's probably more fragile. And to me, that's a big pet peeve of mine when belay jackets are, super technical, super lightweight, but they are not durable enough. And I think that's why a lot of people like the previous version of the Grade 7 is here you have this big puffy parka, but it was actually pretty durable. And like, you could go through a lot of things and it would come out the other side relatively unscathed. Whereas this one, reading that it had a slightly thinner fabric, that kind of just raised a red flag in my head. Now, interestingly, I haven't had any problems with it. And of course, that makes sense because when you update something and you use this new material, generally that new material has some upsides. And I can pretty much say that this new material is pretty strong. It's pretty durable, and Like, it hasn't been shredded with my ice climbing equipment. And I can't say that about the DOS Parka. And that jacket shreds when it gets in contact with my ice climbing equipment. So I will say that I've been pretty surprised that this jacket has pretty much gone unscathed after an ice season. So maybe having the thinner fabric isn't that bad of a thing. But I still think it would be really cool to have this jacket with more of that heavier denier fabric. But that's like a me thing. I personally like that. It's like a peace of mind thing when I know that, I can go through an area like this that has a lot of branches. I can bushwhack and I'm not just going to shred up a jacket. And I think I could do that with this jacket, but I'm not 100% sure that I can. So I still have to be weary with this jacket, but I'm not babying it as much as something like the DOS Parka. If you couldn't tell, I have a vendetta with the DOS Parka. That thing is fragile. So those were kind of like the big 2 updates with this jacket. And everything else is pretty much the grade 7 you know and love. I mean, you get the 2 big chest pockets, you get the dual zipper, but inside the jacket, you get a lot of drop-in pockets. You get 2 on each side, which is awesome. And like, I use it for, storing my gloves in for ice climbing. But, if you're on a rock climbing expedition, you can also throw your shoes in there. Like, there's so much storage within this jacket, and it's amazing. But speaking of the inside of the jacket, you also have a draw cord hem, which is really nice to see. And you do have like a little skirt-esque thing. It kind of hangs down back here, which is nice. It just adds a little bit more coverage. I can tell you, when I've been belaying in the winter for ice climbing, it is nice to have that slightly, teardrop shape where it goes down. It keeps your butt warmer in the winter. So that's definitely a nice thing. But this really is just the grade 7 that you know and love. And like, one thing that stood out between the Alplosh, which replaced the grade 7, was it didn't have the dual insulation on the hand pocket. That's something that the grade 7 had, and it was amazing because basically you have this inside layer which is insulated, but then you'd have the outside layer. Whereas like a traditional jacket, belay jacket like the Alploft and a lot of other jackets, they'll give you the outside insulation, but they won't give you the inside insulation. Whereas this gives you both in the pocket. It's insulated on the outside and it's insulated on the inside. And what that means is when you are in scenarios where you have your hands in the pocket like so, it warms them up really fast. And that is super handy for, like I mentioned, ice climbing, for warming up your hands. It's also super handy for cold rock climbs too. When you touch cold rock, it tends to get your fingers really cold. So having that ability just to warm up your hands quickly, it's game changer. And I definitely know when I've ice climbed with this jacket, well, belayed with it, warming up for a few minutes, I mean, I've avoided the screaming barfies a lot just because I can stick my hands in the pockets and warm them up pretty quick. And for me, that makes my experience outside 10 times better if I'm not having to go through the screaming barfies every time I do like a transition between belaying and climbing. So for me, this jacket adds a lot of value to my experience. And since we've been mostly talking about the lower half of the jacket, I should probably also mention it has a climbing helmet compatible hood. If you didn't know that, I mean, it is a climbing belay parka. So, this has the space for a climbing helmet, and it zips up nice and high so you can stay nice and toasty warm. And if you want to know sizing for this jacket, I am 6 foot and about 175 pounds, and I wear a size medium, and this is how the jacket fits on me. I mean, it's a belay parka. Like, what do you expect? It's going to be roomy. It's built so you can layer underneath it. So expect a pretty generous fit, and just be aware that this sizing is also unisex. So be aware of that. If you couldn't tell, I could keep talking on and on and on about how good this jacket is. I mean, it is the grade 7. It's legendary. It's well known, and it really is amazing to have it back. And that was kind of an interesting thing because I went through the whole thing of, well, the Alploft was the replacement, so the Alploft must be better. And when I heard that they were bringing the grade 7 back, I was really excited, but then I was like, well, Shouldn't the Alploft be technically better than this? But after just one season of use, it's pretty clear that this is far superior than the Alploft. I mean, this is like the pinnacle of like big puffy belay parkas, and for that reason, like it's going to be hard to not have this in my bag. Like for years and years, it's been the DOS Light has been my go-to belay parka, but now as time goes on and it gets a lot colder, I'm gunning for this more often, and it just seems to work in every scenario. And because it is down, it's super compressible, so I can even fit it in my like super tightly packed 35-liter bag. So it's amazing, and I can guarantee you that for this season, the next season, and many seasons to come, the Grade 7 is always going to be in my bag. It's that great of a jacket.